You are watching semi-live from Johnny Donut Studios in beautiful downtown San Diego. I'm with the Oracle, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're recording this, so you will not see this live, but we are live. Are you live?
I'm live. Yeah, I'm sure Husk is going to find a way to still watch this live. So
you're not live. You're not live. You're ever since the hat incident, you're not live. So here's what's going to go on today. We are going to talk about two guys. And we're gonna show you some tape. We're gonna talk a little bit about it. It's gonna be a very, very quick in and out video, but very thorough, as the Oracle is. Oracle, put on your John Spytek hat on. And who do you want to talk about first, Oracle?
Well, they say once a Raider, always a Raider. And I think that still applies if you're a great nephew of Cliff Branch. And not only is he the great nephew of Cliff Branch, this is a Las Vegas native, the pride of Bishop Gorman High School. And I'm talking about Zachariah Branch here, the guy who's super fast, super explosive, super quick, which I think is more important than fast. And I think this is a guy that the Raiders should target on day 2 that could bring some juice to this offense. And look, I know the Raiders want a big-bodied receiver, a guy like Denzel Boston, something like that, but I think this is a guy who could bring a lot of value to the team, not only as a return guy, but he's called the gadget guy, and that could be a little off-putting for some people. And he's called that mainly because he's small. But I think this is a guy who has incredible toughness. When you really watch his highlight tape, you see a guy who's not afraid to go over the middle and make some contested catches. And the thing I also like about him is even though he's small, sometimes he's able to use his body to avoid contact, which I think is a very impressive skill. Yes. So I think this is a guy who could bring a lot of value to the Raiders. I mean, think about if you put him on the same side as Brock Bowers, and you got to worry about covering the speed of Zachariah Branch, and then you got to worry about the route running physicality that Brock Bowers brings. I think that's going to be able to really throw some defensive coordinators and some linebackers, safeties, and corners a little bit of a curveball in how they're going to be able to defend the same side of the field that Branch and Brock Bowers is on. You see that jet sweep right there. I think imagine if you fake a handoff to Ashton Janty and then you have Zachariah Branch coming around on an end around. I mean, I think that's going to be something that other teams are going to really have to take into account. So I think Zachariah Branch is someone that the Raiders could really target and bring a lot of value in a lot of different ways for this offense.
Now, if in the second round at the 36th pick, are you getting a deal, or is this a reach pick for you?
I think it will be viewed as a reach pick on draft day. However, I think if you really find a way to maximize his skill set in the offense, as the season goes along, it won't be viewed as a reach pick. I think ideally you can trade down and get him, but I think at pick 36, I think the Raiders, this is a guy that the Raiders have done a lot of work on. Not only did they have him on a top 30 visit, this is one of the few guys that the Raiders actually went to his pro day at Georgia for. So I think they will have a lot of interest in him. And they also met with him at the Combine, too. So they done the trifecta: Pro Day, Combine, and Top 30 visit. So outside of Fernando Mendoza, this is the only guy right here in Zachariah Branch that the Raiders have invested that amount of resources in.
Right, and then they're at Georgia's Pro Day, so there was actually a lot of people that we've already talked about that they were there for as well. Now, do you see a similarity between our new free agent, Tariq Young? Because I'm going to back last week when Kubiak had his presser, he was very high on Tariq Young. So I'm just wondering what you think about that. Is that something? Are they similar players to say? I mean, both of them are going to want to be special teams darlings for sure.
Definitely. I definitely think they are both going to be utilized on special teams. And look, the more guys that you have that could help you on special teams, the easier it is, because look, when you're really looking at the 53-man roster and then the 47 or 48 guys that are active on game day, you need as many. You do have to factor in special teams ability and who's going to be active and who's going to be inactive for the game day. But I think Zachariah Branch is going to play more snaps on offense than Derek Young will. And for that reason, I do think there is a lot of value to him, is because I think the end arounds, the screens, and then he can get behind the defense just because of his speed. Is he going to win a one-on-one contested catch ball in the same way that a Denzel Boston would? No. But I do think that he has the speed to separate from some safeties and corners at the third level. And when I'm talking the third level, I'm talking deep down the field. So that way, I do think he will get more snaps on offense. And the only thing with him is I don't think he's a guy who's going to play as many snaps as some other people will. Like I think Jalen Naylor and I think also Jack Besh will maybe outsnap them just because of his size. He's not going to be the best blocker. But I do think there will be some times he gets on the field. And when he is on the field, the defense is going to have to account for him.
Absolutely. And he was a nightmare when he was at USC. And then this year at Georgia, man, they really well utilized him. As soon as he was on the field, you could almost count he was going to get the ball somehow and somewhere. And like you said, the bubble screams reverses. I saw against Alabama this year where they had two reverses in the first half with him, setting up another play for them. And I know Kubiak is big about setting plays up. So that right there, I love. I think Oracle already alluded to. This is Cliff Branch, the great Hall of Famer for the Raiders, number 21 from Colorado, is their great uncle. And there was a very big connection between the Branch brothers, Cliff Branch, and the mystique that they're talking about, what Zachariah Branch just talked about in an interview he did. He said, I'm a lot like my great uncle. I was a smaller guy. I'm a faster guy, but I also know how to play football. And that was one thing that Cliff Branch definitely knew how to do, play football. So I'm very excited to see him. Like you said, Bishop Gorman, I mean, are we bringing the dogs? Here's another way. And again, here's a positive. I'm not saying that that he's somebody I would pick at 36. It all depends on what the draft board does. We don't know. The Oracle thinks there's going to be 7 wide receivers taken in the first round. I'm a little worried about that hopefully that happens for the Raiders because linebacker. There's a plethora of linebackers out there that I would love to have. And, that's kind of where we'll have to see what happens at 36. I'm already hearing the rumblings that the Jets are going to trade the 33 pick to get back into the first round to go into the Ty Simpson sweepstakes. So, you know what, Oracle? This is why we left draft day, and we're going to have a little bit of we're going to talk about the draft, literally the day of the draft, at the end of the show. Okay. Did I do that good?
Yeah, you scared my dog. I love it.
If I can do
Woke him up a little bit.
Hold on. Come on. Do your job, dog. Okay. Put your John Spytek hat on. He ran. Yes. And I put your dog on. Okay. With a 36 pick in the 2026 draft, your Las Vegas select.
Let's go Lee Hunter. Let's go the big boy out of Texas Tech right here. Now, this is a little bit of an older player. He's played 5 years of college football. Look, the Raiders, we have Adam Butler. We have Thomas Booker as our 2 300-pounders and that are slightly over 300 pounds. But let's get a guy who's closer to 330 in Lee Hunter, especially if all this talk about the Raiders playing a 3-4 defense. Well, they really don't have a nose tackle on the roster that's a 3-4 nose tackle. So if you get Lee Hunter, I would prefer this to be another trade back option. And I really think the Raiders trade back in the 36 pick, kind of like how John Spytek traded back last year in the second round. But I think getting a guy like Lee Hunter, who's what he is as a football player. He's going to come in and he's going to stuff the run. He's really not going to offer much as a pass rusher, but that's okay because between Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, Kwity Paye, Tyree Wilson, they got some guys that can rush the passer. They don't need Lee Hunter to be in there on third down. So getting a guy like Lee Hunter, and understand this. I mean, Adam Butler's a little bit of an older player. Let's say he were to get hurt too. then it's really just Thomas Booker is the only 300-pounder. So this does become a position of need that the Raiders need to address because they want to make sure they have depth on the defensive line. And let's look at all the really good teams. Let's look at the teams who've won the Super Bowl. Seattle, they have a deep defensive line. Philly, 2 years ago, deep defensive line. So people would want to maybe say, hey, let's get another right tackle to compete with Charles Grant. Maybe we need a corner to compete with Darian Porter. Or you could look at it and say, well, the more bodies that we have in the defensive line that the Raiders are able to rotate, that will maybe make them closer to being a contending team under Fernando Mendoza's rookie contract to where you could really maximize spending money on some other players.
Well, I think the big thing for anybody is Lee Hunter's age. And if we're going to live, and again, so far we've been taking the Raiders at face value. They've been very good at saying, this is what we're going to do. We want adult in the room. They got the adult in the room. You know, they waited for Kubiak. They got Kubiak. So there was some talk about the Raiders not going after a nose tackle because they're going to try to run specialized defenses, the 33-52, similar things where that nose tackle's not really going to be used as if you were going to use a base 3-4 on multiple sets. So what happens at 2 is going to really probably tell us what's going to happen on how they're going to run their defense if they do get Lee Hunter. And that's a great. Do you think he'll be there at 36?
I do, definitely, especially with the lack of pass rushers. I think in the first round, you're going to see a run on offensive linemen. I think 8 offensive linemen get drafted round 1. You're going to see some receivers go, especially some of the contending teams. They're going to want to get a receiver. And these edge rushers. I mean, edge rushers like Zion Young, TJ Parker, Akeem Mesidor, Keldrick Falk. I mean, I think they all go round 1 too. So I think some of these defensive tackles, I could see Caden McDonald and Peter Woods going around 1, especially because they're only 3-year players in college, and especially Peter Woods, who offers the athleticism and the pass rush potential. But I think this is going to cause a guy like Lee Hunter to slip a little bit.
I agree. And like Oracle said, we're looking at 7 receivers going in the first round. And, man, all the drafts. And, again, what do I know? All the mock drafts from the guys who are always nail it, they're talking about 4 to 5 offensive linemen in the first 20 picks. So, and that didn't even include Pregnon. I watched 4 shows in the last 2 days, and that didn't even include Pregnon. So, I got one question for you. Let me see if I can put your hold on. Put your John Spytek app. Damn it. Talk to me about Kenyon Sadiq. I've been watching this.
Oh, man.
Is he Brock Bowers?
I don't think he's Brock Bowers, no. I think he's a little more raw coming out of college. But first of all, you're talking about a guy who ran a 4.39 40 time at the combine. I mean, that's a deep threat at the tight end position. And that is rare to have a tight end that could take the top off of a defense. I mean, Brock Bowers, he could do a lot of good things. Taking the top off the defense is not something he could really do. The thing with him is he's not really a stick your nose in there type of blocker. I mean, he's a guy who will get in the way. He's not a horrible blocker.
Formidable.
He's formidable. I think he's better, kind of like if you have a Michael Mayer or another blocking tight end in there. I think he's better in a 2 tight end set. He could be the F tight end that's off the ball, but you want to have another tight end that's a bigger body that is on the ball and is more of the 6 offensive lineman. But I think he's very impressive. I mean, they threw a lot of screen passes to him at Oregon.
Oh, yeah. His yak is off the chart.
It is, definitely. I mean, he's just he's really a rare guy. He's a guy in fantasy football. If you're in one of those tight end premium leagues, I think he'd be great to have because I think on some of those leagues where you get like a 1.5 for making a catch, I think he's a guy who will have a lot of catches as a tight end. So I think he's a very impressive guy. I think he goes anywhere between like pick 16 to like pick 24, something like that. I don't think he goes super high just because I think he is a little raw and unrefined.
You're the only one. They got him going by pick 12. Lots of guys got him going by pick 12. It blew me away. That's why I'm asking you, because I was like, wow. I mean, we haven't seen that in a long time. So anyway, we'll get back to all that later. Today, what a great show. I mean, we nailed 2 players. You nailed 2 players. Both players would be great additions for the Raiders. I mean, nobody would be upset about those. But we have to see where the cards fell, because right now, man, I love Jacob Rodriguez a lot. I've been watching more and more film, and I've fallen in love with that guy. But I'll tell you what, it will take anything. Denzel Boston, you got me sold on Denzel Boston, man. The more and more I got to watch the game against Oregon, and he clearly dominated that great defense. He clearly dominated them. So, Oracle, put your Steven Chavez hat on. Oh, you have it on. Look at that. So, everybody out there, we're just telling you once again, Bill Romanowski, one of the greatest linebackers in NFL history. Guy didn't miss a game. Like to take steroids, and he says he did. He says he recovered that way. He wasn't getting big, allegedly. So he will be at the draft party at Shenanigans the night that we select Fernando Mendoza. And this guy's easy to talk to. He's a gentleman. And there's so many stories, Oracle. I would love to sit down and just talk to him, where we could have a one-on-one, and maybe we'll get him on the show here soon at the start of next year. Guys, we're working on some stuff with the Dark Side Tailgate. They're going to be putting something big together. We'll talk about that. I don't want to ruin it, because I want to get Leonard on here and have him talk about it, but we will talk soon. Oracle, any last words before you go to Sacramento?
Well, first of all, hopefully Leonard's spending this whole offseason marinating the chicken, because that chicken that I had was some of the best chicken I've ever had. With Denzel Boston, I think if they're going to trade up for one guy in the first round, that would be the guy I want to have. And with Bill Romanowski, if anyone is going to be in Sacramento that night, you got to ask Bill Romo about nutrition, because this guy could tell you a whole lot of things about nutrition.
Yep, he will. This guy's he kept his body in perfect, pristine position. That's why he lasted so many years in the NFL. That's why he has mucho rings. Oracle, it was great talking to you as always, and we will see everybody. What's going on here? We will see everybody on. We're going to do our stuff on Monday night at 6:30. That's going to be the show. We'll have Wyatt's Corner or whatever. We got to name his corner. Maybe somebody.
Wyatt's Red Zone.
Wyatt's Red Zone. We'll go with that. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Good night now.
Good night now.
Roethlisberger. Intercepted again. Picked off by Chris Carr. This is a foot race with Roethlisberger. And there he goes. Have really changed the situation here. Intercepted back for the touchdown.
The Jets could capitalize. Garner. Well, this is going to make everything move. Everything. They're on to Foxborough. Touchdown.
Tannehill under pressure, and it's intercepted. Tipped and picked off. Maurice Hurst off to the races. Tannehill cuts him down at about the 25-yard line. What a turn of events for the Raiders. Tim Brown deep for the punt from Hendrick. Come Raiders. Down at the 18-yard line. Hendrick knew he couldn't get that kickoff and held on to it.
The penalty they spotted at the 7. Hand off, it's Pryor. Lot of real estate to the 30. Pryor is off and running inside Steelers territory. 20,